Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Krisell Valenzuela, and I am a multidimensional medium. I am an Akashic Records reader, a spiritual development coach, and an energy geek. Thanks so much for joining me. I love to do these Thursday hour-long touches where you can get an idea of how I work when I do one-on-one sessions, or even how the perspective that I come from and the perspective that I bring when I'm teaching classes, or even just where I come from when I teach. So if you are new here, thank you so much for joining. If you are a returning watcher, audience member, thank you so much for being here. If you're a replay watcher, thank you for watching the replay. I have a schedule where every Thursday I am doing something different. So first Thursdays are emoji readings. Second Thursdays, I share something about spiritual development. Third Thursdays, I share teaching. And then fourth Thursdays are open Q&A. So today is an emoji readings day. So if you are interested in a reading, I'm going to share the instructions in just a bit. All I ask is that you don't share what your intention for the reading is, and that you, after the reading is shared, that you share the feedback. And that is really helpful for people that watch the replay, because then they can, because then they can see how it resonates for you. And then the next time that there are emoji readings or something where it's an open forum, then you can join. They will join in and they will participate. So what we'll do is I like to start with a meditation, and starting with a meditation helps us to really clear our energy. So it's kind of like going into a clean room and then basically cleaning off our energy, so that then we can come into the space, and it just helps to amplify the readings. So give me a second. I'm just going to give it a moment because I started my video right at 5. And usually when I do that, Usually when I do that, it takes a while for it to pop up in the feed. So if you're here with me, drop me a comment. Let me know. Tell me hi. Share your name. Let me know where you are joining from. And it'll just be another moment. So I'm just going to check my feeds for a second. See, I have some people joining. Hi, Rachel from Minneapolis. Thanks so much for joining. Let's see here. Okay. Hi, Mo from Toronto. Thank you for joining. Okay. Hi, Mo from Toronto. Okay, how do I quiet this thing? Thank you for joining. JK. All right, so I'm just going to share the instructions here. All right. So we're going to start with, hey, Jackie. We're going to start with a little meditation, so we can just come clear. And then I'm going to be doing some rapid fire readings here. All right, I'm going to use some tools too. So a lot of times when I use my bowls, they're too loud. They're too loud for the mic. So I'm just going to use it as like a gong. And my hair is going crazy, excuse me. So go ahead and take a comfortable position, whether that be sitting up, laying down, or standing up. And you can close your eyes. And we will begin with 3 deep clearing breaths. We'll be breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. So let's start. Go ahead and breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And you can allow your breath to return to a normal rhythm. And visualize roots growing from your tailbone. And watch these roots as they flow down your legs, wrap around your ankles, and go into the floor. You watch these roots flow into the floor and into the ground. And as your roots flow into the ground, you watch it intertwine with the roots of the trees, of the plants, of the grass. And you feel the interconnectedness of you and the earth. Now you watch your roots grow deep down into the earth, flowing through different sediment, different layers. And as you watch it grow deep down into the earth, you watch it connect with the earth's core. Your roots anchor and connect you. Watch as the earth's core glows a golden color. And watch that golden light pulse and flow in through your roots. And as the light flows in through your roots and up into your being, you feel it illuminate and light up every cell of your being. With each cell lighting up, it lights up the next, and it lights up the next, until your whole being is lit up. As your whole being glows in this golden color, you feel yourself anchored into this experience, into this space, and into this moment. You can take a moment here to take another deep breath and to just enjoy this moment. And while you're sitting here in this moment, take a moment to think about your intention. Think about your intention, whether it be to connect with a person or to receive guidance about something in your life. And just let the energy around that intention grow until it's 2 times the size, and grow until it is 3 times the size. And then let it grow until it just reaches the maximum size that your heart will allow it. When you're ready, you can slowly bring your awareness back, and you can take that intention and share an emoji. And that's all you have to share is the emoji. And then I'll let spirit guide me on which emojis to read. It could be a combination of energy healing, readings. There's always an element of teaching with me. And we will go from there. So, all right, so I'm going to let people get to dropping their emojis. And if you haven't already, just drop me a hi, hello. Maybe share where you're joining from. I like to know who is joining me, who I'm in co-creation with. And thank you everyone for being here. So it looks like I'm going to start with, sorry, I actually need to wear my glasses, but I don't want to wear my glasses because when I use my ring light, you won't be able to see my eyes. Okay. And you won't be able to see my eyes because then it's just glary, but girls got to see. Hi, thank you, Texas. Hi, Virginia, as in the state, not the person. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Rachel Burt says, I'm blind too. Yeah, I stopped wearing contacts when the pandemic started because it was like, I gotta save those for the days that I go out. Okay. Today, I feel like I'm going to be doing readings mostly with my, just using my own clairsenses. But I have my Golden Thread Tarot cards in case I need support. All right, so the first one that caught my eye is actually nameless. Nameless, but it looks like it's Luann from my Facebook group. So for those of you that are joining from Twitch or joining from YouTube, I have a private Facebook group, and I do this broadcast into the private Facebook group, but I do go in there randomly and then we'll create videos or share things randomly. I will admit that I'm still trying to figure out how to make the most out of it. It is a free Facebook group. So it's still very much a work in progress, but I will be utilizing it more come next month, which I will share that in a couple of weeks. All right, so Luann. I unconsciously started to open my card box. So I wasn't planning on doing this, but I guess I'm going to be doing this. Oh, it's clean. Okay. Okay. So what comes up for you, Luann, is the Fool. And with this card, I mean, if you know what the Fool stands for, it just means that you're at the beginning of a journey. And I don't like to think of the Fool as a fool, but I like to think the Fool as sort of a blank slate. Now, as I was pulling the card, I actually got this vision of it looked like death. It looked like death and maybe like ghastly. But when I first saw it, I thought death. And if anyone who's watching, if you're not familiar with tarot and you're not familiar with what the card meanings are, death is just about closing the door on something and letting something new be birthed. So let me just dig into, I know I pulled the Full card, and I feel like that's really a really important part of the message, because it feels like you need to consider yourself at the beginning of a journey and to just have an open mind for what you're doing, but also feel like there's a part of you that needs to close a chapter, and that's what I want to dig into. So you guys may see me look off into different angles, and really, I'm not looking at anything. I'm very visual, so I get a lot of symbols and a lot of visualizations in my head. That's how I get a lot of my spirit communication. So when I look off to the side, or if I close my eyes, it's really just so I can concentrate on what's coming through. So when I connect with this image that I see, and it looks, number one, it looks like a cartoon. So it reminds me of maybe like a child's cartoon, maybe even like a Disney Junior cartoon, because it looks very harmless. It doesn't look scary. It looks like it's like totally rated G and for kids. So it tells me, I feel like it has to do with the word inner child came up, but the words play come up too. But when I see this kind of like illustration of a skeleton or a ghost coming up out of this woman, and she's like reaching out for something. It's like reaching out for something and yearning for it, like trying to call it back in. It feels like regret. And that one gives me tingles, regret. It feels like regret, and that's why she's reaching out. And it feels okay. So when I think back to this inner child, it feels like we're going through a pattern, and it feels like this pattern, this is the pattern that needs to be broken. What it is that the inner child wants to play. You're going through a pattern of feeling very serious and feeling like all things have to be work, like work is just work, but really work just is, or whatever the job is, it just is. And you can balance the play and the seriousness of whatever the task is that you're doing. So it feels like your soul is asking for more play and for more humor and joy in what it is that you're doing. And if we can put to rest the narrative that things need to be serious all the time, then we could create space for more joy to come through. And what it feels like is that when we put to rest the language and the energy and the narratives around being serious, we release that energy, and then we create this void. And that void is where we can then choose to either fall into the pattern again, or create joy and follow pleasure. It's really hard for people to conceptualize, like, what the heck is following joy and pleasure then? Because we are in a society that conditions us from when we're very young, that people have to tell us what to do. As children, we let adults tell us what to do, instead of adults being kind of like the supervisor to make sure that we don't get seriously hurt, or but to let us play in a safe space and to develop sovereignty from that perspective, from that age, and from that point of view. So even as I'm sharing this, it feels strongly connected in my heart. Whenever my chakras feel activated, I feel it. And when it's in my heart, it feels like heartburn a little bit. It feels like sometimes I describe it as tightening, but really it just feels like activity and it feeling electrified. And so there's a heart guidance meditation on my YouTube, and I'll add it into the notes, or actually I'll tag you in it, Luann, afterwards, that helps you feel into what joy feels like for you, and following what love feels like. Because if there's something that we're doing a lot of in the world, it's we're following instructions. We are following instructions. We're letting other people tell us what happiness, or what is right and what is wrong. And because we're all very unique energetic signatures, what is right for one person could be wrong for another. It's like saying that, oh yeah, there are these absolute, sorry, I don't know what to do with my hair, but there are no absolute rules. To say that, here's a very harmless example, but to say like everyone should love dogs. Well, what about the people that are allergic? They shouldn't. I mean, they could love dogs, but they can't have dogs. So everyone should have a dog. Not everyone can have dogs, right? That's just an example of absolutes, and where we need to really feel into and be connected to our own nervous system, our own heart, our own energy, and let it speak to us. Because I was just talking about this with my friend earlier today, Jackie. Hi, Jackie. How if you go looking for a manual that helps you understand what foods are good for you, that's only from the perspective and filter of that person. But what could be good for you could be totally different. So what you want to do is feel into it for yourself and connect to it for yourself. I know for myself, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was going to do a gut test, a gut biome test, because your gut is as unique as your fingerprint. And so the foods, the diet that is meant for your optimal health is unique to each person. So you could do this gut biome test to find out what's good for you. It never worked out for me for one reason or another. Like, I actually had to get a refund on it. But the idea is, why are you letting people tell you what's right for you and what to do? So coming back, Luann, feel into it and trust yourself. All you have to do is trust yourself. Because what you're searching for is, you already have it. And the way I see this is that your higher self is showing me that you feel that glow and the warmth within you. And you, rather than looking outside and feeling regretful or yearning for wherever you think it resides external to you, it's really within you, and it's about protecting and nurturing what is already with you. And your higher self shows me that that is the end of that transmission. So thank you so much, Luann, for letting me read for you. And if you don't mind just sharing in the comments how that resonates for you. And I'm just going to disconnect from your energy. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the next one. So I am going to do Mo. Thanks so much for joining, Mo. I need a little water here. Okay. Okay, so why is Spirit showing me? It's like I see you, and it looks like a tropical climate setting, because I see palm trees behind you. I see you. I don't know if you're if you identify as man or woman, but what it's showing me is young-ish man who kind of reminds me of Karate Kid or whoever the actor was that played him. But it shows me a man. He's wearing a wife. Excuse me. I am so sorry I used that. I was going to say wife beater, but I believe the correct term is a tank top. He's wearing like a tank top, and he has it looks like a sash tied around his head because it's hot, it's sweaty, and he's smoking a very thick cigar. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is I've been reading this comic book with my son, and in this comic book there are giants that hide in trees and they smoke cigars. And at first you think, oh my God, giants, scary. But really the giants they're just these gentle, large beings. This person that I'm seeing, this representation that I feel is you, this Karate Kid looking character, he does not look large. In fact, he looks very small with the perspective of the trees behind him. I'm just gonna click into this a little more. When I read into this a little more, it feels like sunset. Kind of reminds me of a Corona commercial. And I mean Corona as in the beer, not coronavirus, where you're at the beach and you're just relaxing and it's just serenity. And it actually feels like the cigar is part of this relaxing ritual. I don't know if you partake in tobacco. And I don't even know if cigars have tobacco or if it's something else, because I know I think you're not supposed to inhale it. But when I dig into it, when I look at this person, they're like very tanned. Yeah, maybe they're perspiring a little bit, but they're relaxed. So it tells me they spend a lot of time in the sun. And what that tells me is that they're very much in their solar expression, their soul's expression, and they're very connected to the sun and being out and expressing themselves. So there's no secret to who you are, and there's total comfort with who you are and being out and being seen. The cigar, the person is smoking it, but it almost feels like they're smoking it, but it's also an act of like cleansing or medicine, because the smoke is kind of just like swirling around you, and even you take the cigar out and swirl that cigar around, and that smoke kind of clears your space. I feel like you're relaxing, but that you're also waiting. I see you sit back and your arms are crossed, and it feels like you are patiently waiting for something to happen. And actually, when I say patiently waiting, I start to see things pass by you. And it's like your higher self is trying to give me clues as to what it is that you are waiting for, which I also feel like is showing your sense of humor, or your higher self's sense of humor. Because the way they show this is that I see a woman in a very red dress, and she almost reminds me of Jessica Rabbit. And she walks by, and you're just like, no. So if this is about partners, which I feel is a yes and a no, because this representation is like, no, but yeah, but no. I mean, our partners represent more than just a lover and someone that we share space with, it's also like what we want to see in ourselves, or what we want to find in ourselves, what we want to bring out in ourselves. And I say that because everything is a fractal of you. Everything is a reflection. If you've ever heard people talk about like how everything is just mirroring back to us, it's really the law of resonance, where we're just attracting ourselves, or that vibration that we're putting out there. And it's like you are waiting until you see the part of yourself that you are trying to find. And it feels, the word picky came up, but I feel like what is needing to come up right now is that when you sit back and you are just in this position to sit back and wait and watch, but not actually having any action behind, not taking any action, or not being actively engaged, it's like you're expecting everything else around you to do the work. Because if what's coming to you is not what you want, it's actually an opportunity for you to see. It's like bringing awareness to you. It's an opportunity for you to see, okay, well, if that's what I'm attracting, what can I do to change that, to attract what I think I'm calling, to attract what I want to call in. It's not just about what I think I'm calling in, but what I want to call in. Your higher self is showing me that that is it, by going like clapping, like applauding what I'm saying. Let's see here. He's showing me this representation of you, and it's eating noodles. It's like eating noodles with a chopstick. And I ask like, oh, so does it have to do with diet? And he goes, no, I was just hungry. Like, I'm just hungry. But then could we ask the question, like, could you elevate your hunger, or can you elevate how you feed, how you satisfy that hunger, by being more intentional? Like, if you're hungry, can we be intentional about how you want to satisfy that hunger? An example is when we're hungry, what you're craving is also a representation of what you're craving in your life. Yeah, I know it could sound wild, but think about it. Everything is a fractal of you. And so how are you reflecting? How is life reflecting back to you in the aspect of your food? If you are, honestly, if you're into the bland food, it's possible that you're coming from a place of neutrality. If you're wanting the bland food, it could also be that you are wanting less of the situation that you're in, because you could be in a very spicy situation, and maybe you're wanting bland food to bring you back to neutrality. I find that I am often wanting spicy food. And so when you're thinking about spicy, it's like you're really wanting that friction. If you're wanting something sweet, maybe you're really wanting affection. These are points to start from, but they're not absolute. Nothing is absolute. So if you're taking this and you're like, well, how can I use that to interpret for myself? Let that be the starting point. But the idea is that you think about it and you just let yourself anchor in it, and then let your higher self speak to you, let your guide speak to you and share with you what it really is. I do feel that you're hungry, and I do feel like there's not enough consumption. And so what it feels like is that you just got to get out there and start trying things, because you're not going to know what you want without experiencing it. It feels very much like you need to gain the experience of what that tastes like, what that feels like, and then that will help you call in what you want, because you're coming from a perspective um, of a blank canvas, kind of like the last reading, like how the fool and needing to feel like a blank canvas, and just going out there with playful, joyful expression. So, Mo, yeah, it feels like you just need to go out there and just kind of, and I don't think that this is even necessarily about partners. I feel like this is just life in general, that you need to let yourself get your hands dirty, and that will help you realize what it is that you want. And I feel that from I feel like I have a very empty stomach, and I eat all my meals before I start this, so I'm not hungry. But I feel like a very empty stomach, and it feels like there's nothing in the pipeline waiting to come in. So that's how I get that. Let's see, is there anything else for Mo? Um, hmm. So what spirit shows me, it almost felt like I got a very like hard pat on the back, and then I saw a visualization of a person like getting a pat on the back and then choking and spitting something out that was like maybe they're stuck in their throat. So it feels like you may have had a time where you were out there getting your hands dirty, and then it didn't sit with you well, and so you're maybe a little maybe there's trauma there. Maybe there's trauma there, and so you're afraid to go there again. Um, it was, you were fine. What's coming up is there's trauma there from the experience, but you were fine. You were taken care of. And if you can look at that perspective rather than look at it in terms of, well, this could have happened to me, and this could have happened to me, and it could have been worse, and I don't want to take that risk. You're always in control, and you can put yourself in that situation with ease and be gradual, and you have full sovereignty to pull yourself back at the moment that you feel unsafe, but you get to control the pace that you do it at. um, I'm getting that you're always going to be stuck in the shallow end, or maybe not even dip your toe in the water if you don't allow yourself to try. And what spirit shows me is it's like I see you in shallow waters, and you're crying, like you're hysterical and you're crying. And you may have that moment. You may feel triggered, but remember, this is your experience. And so you don't have to do it by yourself. You can have someone there with you, but you need to set it up in a way that you feel safe, so that you can also recognize like, oh, I'm also in like water that's up to my waist, and I'm okay. I'm fine. So I hope that resonates. They are showing me that that's the end of your transmission. Thank you, Mo, for letting me read for you. If you'll just drop in the comments and share how that resonated with you. Thank you. Okay. Hi, Mick. Thanks for joining. If I missed you guys, hi, Omatopi. Hi, Borka. Hi, Kendall. And Pisces Goddess. And Sue. If you guys are just joining, if you are interested in a reading, I think I have time for maybe 2 more. Sue, if you're still around, drop me an emoji. But if you are interested in a reading, all you have to do is think about your intention and then you can drop me an emoji in the comments. You don't have to share anything about your intention. Your emoji is a share. What I do is I unpack your emoji and read from there. That's how it works. So if Sue's not here, I'm going to read for Rachel. Just going to give it a second for you guys to just drop me some tings. Let's see. Oh, awesome. So Sue is still around. Okay. So Sue, let's see here. Sometimes I move my hands around like this, and that's just actually how I move energy around. So if I feel like I'm not clear going into your reading, I might go like this. And you can do that to clear your energy too. I know a lot of people use Palo Santo or sage, and sometimes people use crystals. Sometimes people use sprays, and that's not always available. Excuse me. So something you can do is kind of go like this. All right, so Sue, I'm gonna go into your reading. But for those of you that are watching the replay, I'm just dropping in most comments there. Okay, so Sue, I feel like I see marigolds and I see Day of the Dead looking sugar skull characters. And it doesn't actually feel like it's actual sugar skull. It actually feels like it's a kid in a costume dancing around. But what it does feel like, what the takeaway from this visualization is celebration of life, celebration of grieving, celebration of ancestors. I know marigolds, like that's a big part of having marigolds at Day of the Dead celebrations. And let me dig into this. So I was just asking because it's like dancing around like this. It's almost like it's a puppet dancing or marionette, but it's clearly a person in a sugar skull or skull Dia de los Muertos costume. And there's a lot of black and orange and like almost like a coppery brass orange color that it feels like marigold flowers. And I'm not really sure what marigolds mean, but let's see, let's dig into it. So marigolds. It feels, first off, that feeling of fall, that's coming up. And fall in terms of like the harvest and thinking about what you take with you and what you leave behind, kind of like filtering through things and filtering through things. It's almost like spring cleaning, how you're going through things and shedding, really. This dancing kid, though, keeps coming back, and it just feels like it has a lot to do with being playful, which I'm sensing is a theme here. Feeling that in terms of the grieving process, and as you recall ancestors, which could even be loved ones that passed from a generation ago, that relationship to them and how you remember them, like it could be playful and it could be fun. I know a lot of people when it comes to loved ones that pass, oftentimes the response is a lot of grief. It's sadness. They're not here anymore. Well, let me tell you, every mediumship session I've ever given, the spirit is always trying to share loud and proud, like, hey, I'm still here. There's usually and ask for the person to write them letters to communicate, which is really a stepping stone to work up to talking to them out loud and really to acknowledge their presence. And those are all practices of trusting yourself, trusting that your experience is real, and also building that relationship with that spirit. So what happens is then you don't need a medium, and that you just start communicating with this energy on your own, that you are the medium. And spoiler alert, everyone's a medium. It's a matter of developing that muscle. And then now this kid moves to like wiping themselves down. Are we cleansing? No. Are we shedding? Shedding. What could that mean? I see shedding, and the kid goes like this and goes, oh, what do you mean shedding? Let's dig into that. Take off the costume. Just like take off the costume and let yourself be seen. When the kid, I feel like when the kid's wearing the costume, it's like a costume that covers them from head to toe. And so when we look at this costume, you can't really tell if it's a boy or a girl, but I felt like there's a masculine energy. So it feels like a boy. And I say masculine, but I retract that, because when we think masculine, we think action-oriented, structured, that kind of thing. But it feels like boyish energy in the sense of how we actually raise our boys, whether that's how we want to raise them or not. It feels like a boy who is very sensitive, very emotional, and maybe doesn't have the guidance to manage their own emotions. And then when he takes off his costume, he reveals himself. The child reveals himself as a boy. That's what I was trying to get at. But when the kid takes off their costume and reveals himself, they're very stoic. It's like they've then put a filter on to not show their true self. It feels like the true self is this really playful, dancing kid that's in the costume, which feels really backwards. I know we often talk about costumes and masks as a way to allow us to feel uninhibited. We could just be, I don't want to say unhinged. It just feels like you could allow yourself to be more vulnerable without having to identify yourself. But it feels like the real vulnerability is in revealing yourself and then still allowing yourself to be that playful person, to share unfiltered who you really are. Why do we need to reconcile these things is what I'm asking your spirit. I wonder if another theme today is heartbreak, because this child shows me, he takes two parts of his hands and then he brings them together and he goes like this. This is why we need to reconcile them. And it feels like heartbreak. There is heartbreak. Something happened. So it feels like you went through a situation where maybe someone made you feel inferior or made you feel ashamed about being yourself. That is a lesson in itself, and it doesn't tell us that you need to actually hide yourself, or that you need to tone yourself down. It feels more like, well, that's not your space. That's not your person. It also feels like, yes, you can feel into it. You can feel into that experience. Like we've been talking this whole time, feel into your experience. But it feels like instead of always putting the onus, the responsibility on yourself, thinking like, oh, I'm broken, like it's okay to look outside yourself and in yourself to see, like, am I broken? Are they broken? And then you feel into it, because it's not always your fault. It feels like it was a parent that did it, because I keep seeing a father figure with this boy, with this little boy. And it feels like that's where it comes from. And no one is perfect. So even though these adults in our lives, they carry so much responsibility, because they have such a huge part in our conditioning, they're not perfect. And so as we get older and we see how the dynamics of people, how it works with everyone together, we can look at situations like that, even if it's with people that are not in relationship to us. Like, you could just witness a parent and their child in public and see how unperfect that relationship can be. Like, everyone makes mistakes, and we could see that. And then hopefully that when you see that, you take them off that pedestal, and with them being removed from that pedestal is remove the authority that you gave them on how you got to feel. Because I feel like you are at a point where you are where that person was when they made you feel this way. And it's hard reconciling um, that it's hard for you to reconcile forgiveness for them, because with your awareness of what they did and your consciousness of how it made you feel, you can't possibly imagine that they didn't understand the weight of their actions. But the truth is, like, they passed down to you trauma that they acquired in their own lifetime, because someone did it to them. And the reason why they did it to you is because they didn't have the awareness to understand the pattern that they were recreating. And then your higher self shows me that that's the end of that transmission. So Sue, thank you so much for letting me read for you. If you'll just share in the comments how that resonated for you, I would love it and appreciate it. I'm going to be closing up soon, but I just want to share that I teach a monthly development circle. And when I started my own journey, I had no paranormal, no supernatural experience. And if I would not have identified with being a psychic or a medium in any way. I went to my first workshop as a form of self-care. I wanted to learn meditation, grounding, and raising my vibration, because everything I read said it would help me feel better, lift up my mood, lift up my spirits. And so I went and took my first class. I share my story because I never would have thought that I would be doing this. And it's just to show that you can go from no experience to having a very profound, helpful experience. And so I do teach a development circle, which gives you the basics to be able to do readings for yourself and for others on your own, and also creates a safe space for you to practice. And I always give coaching so that you could progress along on your journey. I'm also teaching a spirit guides class. So if you want to learn how to connect and work with your spirit guides, I go through that with you as well. It's a 2-hour class. It's on Friday the 12th. Yes, Friday the 12th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Again, it's a 2-hour class. And then I am going to be coming out with a program. So if you're not already, join my mailing list. And thank you, Sue. So if you're not already on my mailing list, join my mailing list, because I'm going to be coming out with a new program, which is all about helping people realize that they are the authority, and to help them reconnect with their higher self and with their own energy, so that they can lean more on themselves and live the life that they came here to uniquely express. I'm also going to be doing group past life regressions. So I'm a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner. Actually, technically, I'm an intern, but I'm going to be doing group regressions, and I'll be doing those virtually. And if you join my mailing list, you will get an invite to a free group regression. So be sure to join my mailing list. I think all the links are in the show notes. And thank you everyone for joining. And please join me next Thursday. We'll be doing spiritual development. We're going to be talking about archetypes. And then the Thursday after that, I haven't nailed down what I'm going to talk about yet, but I'll be sharing some teaching. And then if you guys have questions, you could share them in the comments here, or you can even share them in my Facebook group, my free private Facebook group, so that I'll answer them in the last Thursday of the month. So thanks again for joining. Bye everyone, and have a wonderful weekend and evening. All right, I came back. Rachel, I see that you have a question, and you asked how. Are you asking how to sign up for the class or how to join the group? Are you asking how to sign up? Excuse me. You guys can message me.